Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me. Let me just set up over here and get to my page. Okay, let's see. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we're gonna finish Uhud today, and just to recap what we covered the last time we were conducting our Seerah program was, let's see, we had discussed the battle, we had discussed the martyrdom of Hazrat Hamza radiallahu anh, and we discussed the injuries of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So today, inshallah, we'll be finishing the Battle of Uhud, and there's a few more incidents to narrate before we complete all of Uhud. After which, inshallah, next week we're going to start a different chapter. So, just to go over these last incidents, it's reported that Safiya, radiallahu anha, who was Safiya? She was the aunt of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib. So Safiya radiallahu anha, she ran onto the battlefield, and when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam witnessed this, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam shouted out that a woman is on the battlefield, meaning that the Prophet ﷺ is saying that she should not be there because she might become traumatized, because she's on the battlefield. There were Muslims who were martyred. Many of them, they were mutilated. And looking at something like this would be horrific to see. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that there's a woman on the battlefield, and there's a great possibility that she is going to be traumatized. And the one who recognized her was her son. Now, who was the son of Safiya radiallahu anha, the aunt of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Everybody should know this by now, that her son was none other than Zubair ibn al-Awwam, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Zubair, he ran up to her and said that, "Oh, my mother, ya ummata." And before he could say anything to his mother Safiya, before he could speak, she just pushed him away and said that, "I have no need of you now. That I have no need of you now. La hajata li fik. That I have no need of you now. Don't interfere." So Safiya radiallahu anha, she rushed into the battlefield. Again, this is the aunt of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she was met by none other than her son Zubair ibn al-Awwam, one of the 10 who was given the glad tidings of paradise while he was alive, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Zubair came to his mother, hoping to take his mother away from the spectacle that was on the battlefield. As I said, this was a horrific scene because many Muslims, they were martyred, and a lot of them, they were mutilated, and some of them were mutilated beyond recognition. So he said to his mother, he was about to tell her that leave the battlefield, but before he could say anything, she pushed him aside and said that, "I have no need of you right now, don't interfere." Then Zubair said, "But the Prophet ﷺ said that you should not go." The Prophet ﷺ said that you should not go. And as soon as she heard this, she instantly stopped. So she's full of emotion, wants to see her brother Hamza radiallahu anh. Hamza radiallahu anh, he was martyred. We went over this a few sessions back. And when she hears that the Prophet ﷺ said to stop, she stopped instantly. That these are the instructions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she did not hear. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw his aunt, he cried out that there is a woman on the battlefield, and she didn't hear. But Zubair bin Awwam radiallahu anh, he stopped his mother and immediately told his mother that these are the instructions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now she heard of the martyrdom of her brother, and she hands two pieces of cloth that she was carrying, and said that I got these for Hamza. I got these for my brother. I know he's been martyred. Use them to bury him and to shroud him. Now, notice how obedient she is to the Prophet ﷺ, that when she hears from her son that Rasulullah ﷺ has said that there is a woman on the battlefield, meaning that she should not be there because there's a possibility of trauma. This is a very traumatic scene. So notice how obedient she is. She immediately stops herself and she goes to leave. She leaves the battlefield, but she gave the shrouds to her son, Zubair bin Awwam, that use this for my brother, Hamza radiallahu anh, who met his end in the Battle of Uhud, who became Shaheed. Now, Safiya and Hamza radiallahu anh, they were full siblings. They were full siblings. Thus, they had a very close bond. Both Safiya and Hamza, because they were close siblings, they had a very close bond, and they weren't half brother or half sister. They were full brother and full sister. Their father was the same and their mother was the same. So Safiya and Hamza, they were full siblings. So she's heard that Hamza radiallahu anh has been killed and he has been mutilated, and she's very emotional, but she still obeyed the instructions and command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now Zubayr bin Awwam, he finds his uncle Hamza, and he finds him so that he can wrap him up in garments. Then Zubair said, he's narrating this hadith, he said that right next to Hamza was an Ansari Sahabi who had nothing. So right next to Hamza, there was an Ansari Sahabi who had nothing. And he said that I am embarrassed that Hamza should get two pieces of cloth to shroud himself, and this Ansari gets none. So Zubair said that I felt embarrassed. So Zubair radiallahu anh, he said, so we drew lots to decide which person gets which, and we gave them as was allocated. And this shows the poverty of the Sahaba, that they didn't even have shrouds to cover themselves. This was the poverty that the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ were experiencing in the beginning of Islam, the initial stages of Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ, continuing on, moving forward, the Prophet ﷺ, he surveyed all of the dead. And this is when he saw Hamza radiallahu anh, and he saw his mutilated body, and he lost himself. He was human being. Rasulullah ﷺ was a human being after all. And the Prophet ﷺ, he cried because the stomach was opened up, the nose, the fingers, all he was mutilated just as personal vengeance. This was the personal vengeance of the Quraysh, that they mutilated Hamza radiallahu anh. And at this, the Prophet ﷺ said that what we mentioned a few sessions back, that if I see them, if I see the Quraysh, I will do this to 30 of them. I will do this to 30 of them. Just as they have mutilated my uncle, I will retaliate by mutilating 30 of them. So upon this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that if you will take vengeance, then let it be the same. Let it be equal. One isn't equal to 30. But if you forgive, then this is even better. فَإِنْ أَعْقَبْتُمْ فَأَعْقِبُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا أُقِبْتُمْ بِهِ. That if you will take vengeance, then the vengeance should be equal. So 30 is not equal to 1. 1 is equal to 1. But if you forgive, this is better for you. And this is exactly what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. He was a human being after all. Out of emotion, this is what he said. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran reprimands the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Immediately, he forgave whatever the Quraysh did to Hamza radiallahu anh. Thus, after this, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he forbade mutilation. So it comes in hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Naha Rasulullah sallallahu anil mutla, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he forbade mutilation. It is therefore haram to mutilate. So the Sahaba, continuing on, the Sahaba, they were commanded to dig graves, and often 2, 3, or 4 had to be buried in one grave. Two, three, or four had to be buried in one grave, since they couldn't dig one grave for each person. Remember, there was 70 shuhada, approximately 70 sahaba, who were martyred in the Battle of Uhud. So the Prophet ﷺ said, let those who know the most Quran be buried first. So those who know the most Quran, they should be the ones who are buried first. And this is the honor of learning the Quran. Now look at the blessings of memorizing the Quran. Living and dead, the one who knows most Quran will be honored. That this book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by